how to overcome real estate agent challenges like a boss. Time management. The big thing about time management, nobody has really taught us about that. Closest thing that we learned about time management actually came from school when we were put through a specific schedule and was supposed to come on time. Punctuality, that's about as deep as it goes. No time management leads to a number of things, right? It can lead into complete lost sense of time where you don't know what you're supposed to do and by when, but you feel overwhelmed. What happens when that goes on for a period of time? You end up taking a significant dip, right, emotionally, and then you start beating yourself up for it. The first thing that people need to do is this, right? You need a reality check. What I mean by reality check, you need to first do a quick review and figure out what your priorities really are. Most typically, workaholics, the first thing that they say, work is most important. And then I ask them, what's second, third, fourth? Oh, then we go into like family. The minute they start to answer this question, they start to think like, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. Well, a lot of people never say anything about themselves. The truth is this, right? As we go through life, our priorities will shift. Most often, stress, right? The inability to manage time, stress stems from the lack of awareness that their priorities have changed. So a lot of people are not aware of their shift in priorities, and being not aware, they do not adjust their schedule accordingly. Being a single person, your priorities will be of a certain set, right? Your lifestyle could come first, but let's say you get together with someone, you find a significant other. Now you'll realize that what I'm talking about now is outside of your career, right? But that's exactly the thing as well, because what's outside of your work, your career, deeply affects your work. There is that myth, right, about keeping work and your personal life separate. I think people are beginning to become more aware, starting to see from afar, right, how the relationship between your personal life as well as your work life. These two are technically one and the same. Your personal life technically forms the foundation of your work, right? Although if you flip it out the other way around, work is what gives you life at the same time, because without working, you don't get any money, right? But these are technically two sides of the same coin. Time is one of the most limited it is a limited resource, right? It is the one true limited resource that we have, right? Once it goes by, it's gone and then it's never going to come back, right? You need to create your own, what I call ideal schedule, your default diary. So within a week, right, you need to know when you need to look into your marketing, prospecting. You need to know when you need to be doing your calling. You need to know when is the best time to set your viewings. You need to know when it's important to maybe take a step back and do your bi-weekly reviews. You also need to know when to have your own personal time, right? There is a saying, right? If you don't make time for it, if it's not in your schedule, you're never gonna do it. It's okay if things are not in order. What's important is that you're first aware of it so that you know how to move it, right? It's okay to change your priorities temporarily. Now, you know what? For all of us here, I'm sure most of you are Malaysian or Asian or whatever it is, right? It is a typical Asian belief that family comes first, right? Now, I don't know about you, but for me, for the longest time, family almost always comes first, right? But what I failed to understand is that, knowing how to balance and shift my priorities, right? And to know that one thing, if I shift, let's say family down to number 2 or number 3 temporarily, it doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean that I am, I'm not doing a good job. I don't care about my family. But sometimes what might happen as well, suddenly my health drops, right? I've fallen sick, right? You cannot, if you've fallen sick, it's simple, right? You start to prioritize yourself, right? You have no choice but to prioritize yourself and start to take care of yourself first. Because if that doesn't happen, you continue to focus on your family and work, you break down, you end up, basically being completely out of the picture. And guess what? Everything suffers at the same time, right? You cannot see your family, you cannot work because you're sick. You see what I mean? So you need to be able to move your priorities and understand that you can. Many people who are struggling and going through a lot of issues and problems, who can't seem to find a way out or a solution. These are my 2 easy steps, which I would suggest that you do. Step one is basically whatever that you're struggling with, right? Convert it into a question. Specifically, to convert it into a what or a how question. This is just a simple way of structuring your mind so that you can start to seek for answers. People tend to focus too much on the problems without focusing on the solution. And the gap between that is question. A what question can be, what can I do to be more productive? That can be something as simple as that, right? The second simple step is to then start looking for resources, right? Where can you look for these answers? Basically, we have an abundance, right? In terms of different channels or ways which we can seek answers. People, for one, right? If you're struggling with low motivation, look for someone who is motivated, right? Ask them, how can I be motivated? Secondly, as well, don't forget that you've got Uncle Google, right? There's a lot of material online as well. But yes, there's a lot of content which may not give you results, but that's the whole point of seeking answers. Know how to sift through these answers and see what works for you. Identifying what works for you, you need to be able to take what you've learned and implement it, take action. Most often what people do, they find a solution, they revert back, right? They go back into that old way of like focusing on the problem. And it's common that way, but this is exactly where we need to be mindful and catch ourselves so that we don't end up focusing on the problems again and focusing our energy on making things better. And if you got any more specific questions, please just let us know. We'll be most happy to have a short live session on it so that we can, Coach Taco and myself are always happy to help.